The National Cattlemen's Beef Association's off to a great start in 2025. Almost 8,500 people attended CattleCon in San Antonio, bringing with them an incredible sense of energy and excitement for the year ahead. However, there's still plenty of work to be done. And joining us now to talk more about that work is NCBA Chief Executive Officer Colin Woodall. Colin, I know one of the primary events and topics of business is the rollout of the 2025 priorities. What will the Washington, D.C. office be focused on this next year?
We're focused on producer profitability. We need to make sure that all of our actions help producers make the most of their operations with an opportunity to be profitable. Because if they can't be profitable, then we won't have members and we won't have an association. And we're going to do that through two pathways. One is working with President Trump and his new administration to find regulatory actions that actually help us rather than harm us. For example, we'll be working to roll back a lot of the burdensome Biden-era climate regulations that we're dealing with.
Good.
We're going to make sure that we fix Secretary Vilsack's actions to take red meat off of the plate in the dietary guidelines. We'll be working to make sure that USDA has all the resources they need to help us control animal diseases, especially foreign animal diseases, and to address things like New World screwworm. We also want to make sure that fake meat is labeled, and we want to try to do everything we can to streamline the pathway for permittees in the work that they do in the West. But we also need Congress to engage. We need a farm bill, and we need Congress to address all the expiring provisions in the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Let's talk about that. I mean, exactly what happens if those 2017 tax provisions are allowed to expire?
Leading that list is the death tax. The death tax is going to expire. All the provisions what we were able to get in the last bill are going to expire at the end of 2025. So what that means is the exceptions that we've been able to put in place. For example, right now, each individual can exempt $13.99 million worth of assets from the death tax. So with a couple, that is almost $28 million worth of exemptions. We want to be able to maintain that and grow it. If this is allowed to expire, that level is going to go down to $5 to $7 million. So it's going to be a huge liability for producers. So we are working to ensure that not only can we maintain those exemption levels, but we can grow them over time, much like we have done with all the provisions of the 2017 bill. We also have legislation that's been introduced to fully repeal the death tax.
I know the Endangered Species Act has a significant impact on producers, particularly in some parts of the country. Can you explain, are we making significant progress on that issue?
The Endangered Species Act had the best of intentions when it was passed. But unfortunately, like so many things that we see out of our federal government, the unintended consequences are the things that cause the burdens. And they're causing a lot of burdens on us as landowners and land users. So we believe we have an opening here with a new Secretary of the Interior, Secretary Doug Burgum, who is pro-agriculture and pro-business, to be able to talk through that and to show him that when it comes to endangered species, we as landowners, especially as cattle producers, are the best partners in helping with species recovery. But that species recovery needs to be recognized, and we need to take species off of the list. And so we do believe that with his overall pro-business perspective, pro-agriculture perspective, we have an opening here that we haven't had in a while.
Now, if I understand correctly, also included in the 2025 priorities are programs and provisions around predator control and compensation programs for depredation. And clearly, Colorado, we dealt with some wolves issues that have been very significant to some producers here. We don't talk about that issue much on this program. Can you explain more about that to our audience?
Predators are a problem for producers, and not just producers in the West. A lot of times we think about wolves, we think about grizzlies, but you also have to think about things such as black vultures, which are prevalent in almost half of this country and are a huge problem, especially during calving season. So our position is to, once again, much like the ESA, utilize an administration that is interested in helping us to try to address our issues, to make sure that, one, we can have the opportunity to control these predators as landowners without the fear of liability or retribution, but also make sure that there is a program in place to compensate producers for their losses. Because we cannot expect, especially in a situation where a species has been reintroduced, to allow the producers to bear all that burden. And right now they are. We need to make sure we are compensating them in the event we cannot get out and control them.
I'm thrilled to hear that. You know, all the things we've been talking about have a direct impact on producer profitability. But I find it interesting that you actually called out profitability as part of the 2025 policy priorities. Tell us more.
When you think about it, this association was established in 1898 to look at producer profitability. I think over the years, we've spent a lot of time focusing on a lot of the individual provisions that have a direct result on profitability, such as taxes and ESA. But we've never just come out and said, we are focusing on profitability as a whole. And we felt it was time, again, with a new Congress, a new administration, and knowing that all the work that we have done in the past leads to that, we want our members and everybody in this industry to know that NCBA is focused on producer profitability. The work we have done for almost 127 years is focused on producer profitability. And we will continue to do that, because if we do not have producers who can stay in business, then they're not going to be able to take care of their land. They're not going to be able to take care of their cattle or their families or have an association like NCBA.
Agreed. Well, you have a full plate of priorities and a robust agenda, but I'm confident in you and your team, and so good luck in 2025 as we implement and execute those.
Thank you, Kevin.
Now, one of the most important things cattlemen and women can do is join the fight to protect our industry by becoming a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. It's easy to do. Just call 866-233-3872, or you can go to the website ncba.org.